I'm guessing good looks play a role here.
Well, physical attractions are definitely a part of it, but it's not just superficial.
Welcome to the Bellytail Podcast. Here, every tale brings a spark of understanding, a fresh perspective, and a little more light to the journey we're all on.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're diving into something I think we all can relate to at some point in our lives, and that is why we fall in love. And
Oh, yeah.
don't worry,
Search
this
it
isn't
out.
going to be some cheesy Valentine's Day special. We're going to get down and dirty
Yeah,
into the nitty-gritty,
absolutely.
all the surprising science behind all of it. And to help us navigate these treacherous waters, we have a fascinating article from Psychology Today called The 11 Reasons We Fall in Love.
Yeah, it's a great article.
Yeah.
We're going to go beyond just the warm fuzzies,
Yeah.
the superficial feelings, and really dissect what makes us tick when it comes to romance.
Yeah, because let's face it, love, it can be pretty perplexing. One minute you think you have it all figured out,
Right.
and then bam, you're head over heels for someone you never would have expected.
Absolutely.
Big.
I think, this article does a great job of kind of breaking it down into stages, almost like a roadmap to love.
Okay.
And it starts with really 4 key attributes that generate attraction in general.
Okay, so before we even get to the fireworks and the love songs and all that,
Right.
there's like this foundation of attraction. What are these mysterious elements that
Yeah.
draw us to people in the first place?
Well, the first one, might sound a little obvious, but it's similarity.
Okay.
We tend to be attracted to people who share our values, our beliefs, even our sense of humor.
That makes sense. It's like you're on the same wavelength as someone.
Exactly.
Like you just get each other on like a deeper level.
Exactly. And then there's something called propinquity, which basically means familiarity.
Okay.
So think about it. How many couples, meet at work or at school or through mutual friends?
Oh, yeah.
It's that repeated exposure, spending time together that can actually lead to a spark.
So even in the age of, dating apps and algorithms and all that,
Right.
good old-fashioned proximity still matters.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But propinquity alone isn't a guarantee.
Okay.
I mean, you wouldn't fall for every coworker, would you?
True.
So the article also points to desirable characteristics.
Ooh, now we're getting into it. I'm guessing good looks play a role here.
Well, physical attractions are definitely a part of it, but it's not just superficial.
Okay.
It's someone's kindness, their intelligence, their passion for life.
Yeah,
Those qualities are just as alluring, wouldn't you say?
absolutely. I think we've all met people in our lives that, maybe aren't conventionally attractive, but they have this energy about them that's just magnetic.
Precisely. And there's one more key attribute, in this initial attraction phase,
Okay.
and that's reciprocal liking.
Uh-huh.
Simply put, knowing that someone likes us back can actually make them seem more attractive.
Okay. I'm starting to sense a theme here. We like people who are similar to us.
Yeah?
Who we see often, who have qualities that we admire and who like us back.
Right.
Does that mean that love is just a giant ego stroke?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And it brings us to a deeper point about how these 4 attributes work together.
Yeah.
It's not just about validation.
Okay.
It's about that feeling of being understood and appreciated for who we truly are.
I see that, because if someone is like totally different from us and we don't know them very well and they express interest, it might be flattering, but it doesn't necessarily
Right.
feel like something real.
Exactly. So all of these 4 attributes really create this fertile ground
Okay.
for a genuine connection to take root.
This is making me rethink my entire dating strategy, but I'm guessing there's more to the story.
Yeah,
These 4 attributes are just like the initial spark, right?
exactly.
What turns that spark into like a full-blown love bonfire?
Well, that's where we move beyond just general attraction into the realm of passionate love.
Okay.
And that's where things get even more interesting.
All right. I'm all ears.
Okay.
Let's hear it. I'm all ears.
Mhm.
What are these secret ingredients that transform like a simple spark of attraction
Okay.
into like a burning desire for someone?
Well, buckle up, because the article kind of throws a bit of a curveball here.
Okay.
It suggests that sometimes a dash of danger, or at least the perception of it, can fan the flames of passion.
Hold on. Are we talking about like actual danger here?
Yeah.
Should I be planning a first date that involves like scaling a volcano or something?
Not exactly.
Right.
But think about it. Have you ever noticed that like a shared adrenaline rush
Yeah.
can sometimes lead to unexpected attraction?
Uh-huh.
The article actually mentions this study where men who were interviewed on a swaying suspension bridge
Oh.
were more likely to find the interviewer attractive compared to those who were interviewed on solid ground.
That's crazy. So, like, our brains are basically misinterpreting that heart-pounding fear
Right.
as, like, butterflies for another person.
It's possible. And this arousal unusualness factor.
Okay.
It's not just limited to physical thrills.
Okay.
Experiencing something new and exciting together.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just trying a new restaurant or going to a concert,
Right.
it can actually create that sense of connection.
So basically ditch the boring dinner dates
Yeah.
and opt for something that gets the heart racing?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, I can dig it. What else can send those sparks flying?
Well, sometimes it's not about the grand gestures.
Okay. Yeah.
It's the small details that really draw us in.
Okay.
The article refers to these as specific cues.
Ooh. I'm intrigued. What kind of cues are we talking about?
Well, it could be anything, really.
Okay.
The way someone laughs, the twinkle in their eye, the way they move their hands when they talk.
Yeah.
It's those unique little quirks that make someone stand out from the crowd.
Totally. It's like you get fixated on one specific thing about a person, and it just drives you crazy in the best way possible.
Right.
Maybe it's their sense of humor or the way they tilt their head when they're listening to you.
Right.
It's just those little things that make them unforgettable.
Exactly. And then there's a factor that might surprise you.
Okay.
Readiness.
Okay.
It turns out that being open to love, and surprisingly enough, having lower self-esteem, can actually make us more susceptible to falling head over heels.
Wait, really lower self-esteem makes you more likely to fall in love? That seems a little counterintuitive.
It might seem that way.
Yeah.
But think about it this way. If someone is feeling less secure, they might be more eager to find someone who makes them feel loved and validated.
Okay.
They might be more willing to put their heart on the line, so to speak.
That's an interesting perspective. So it's not necessarily like a bad thing.
Right.
But it does highlight the importance of like building a strong sense of self-worth
Yes.
outside of romantic relationships.
Absolutely. Healthy relationships should complement our sense of self, not define it.
Okay, so we've got the excitement of shared experiences,
Right.
the allure of specific cues, the vulnerability of being ready for love.
Yeah.
What else is in this potent love potion?
Well, the article points to another factor that might seem a bit obvious,
Okay.
but is often overlooked, and that's isolation.
Okay.
It's that quality time spent alone with someone away from distractions that could really intensify the connection.
Makes sense. It's hard to build intimacy when you're constantly surrounded by other people
Right.
or like glued to your phones.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just need to like shut out the noise and focus on each other.
Exactly. Creating that space for focused attention allows for deeper conversations,
Yeah.
shared vulnerabilities,
Uh-huh.
and those magical moments of connection that make love so special.
So romantic getaways, candlelit dinners,
Right.
long walks on the beach.
Yeah.
All those cliches actually have like some psychological backing.
It seems so. And finally, there's that element of mystery
Miss it.
that keeps us on our toes.
I love a good dose of intrigue. Is this why we're so drawn to those like brooding, enigmatic types?
It's possible, but it's not just about playing hard to get.
Okay.
A bit of mystery keeps things interesting, sparks curiosity, and allows the relationship to unfold organically.
So basically the takeaway here is to avoid oversharing on the first date.
Well, it's all about finding a balance.
Okay.
You don't want to be completely closed off.
Right.
But leaving some room for discovery can definitely keep that spark alive.
This is so fascinating. I'm starting to realize that falling in love isn't just about like chance encounters and grand romantic gestures.
Right.
There's a whole science behind it.
Exactly. And we haven't even touched upon the most fascinating aspect of all,
Okay.
the role our brain chemistry plays in this crazy roller coaster of emotions.
Okay. I am officially hooked. Spill the tea on those love chemicals.
Right.
Okay, spill the tea on those love chemicals. I'm ready to hear about how our brains turn into mushy love factories.
Well, get this. In the early stages of love, your brain is actually a bit of a mess, chemically speaking. That feeling of being completely obsessed with someone, like you can't think about anything else.
Well, tell me about it. It's like they've hijacked your brainwaves.
Exactly. And that's partly due to low levels of serotonin,
Okay.
which is a neurotransmitter that's associated with feelings of satiation and contentment.
Wait, so low serotonin means less satisfaction. But isn't love supposed to make you feel happy?
Well, that's the paradox. You see, low serotonin actually fuels that intense longing, that almost obsessive desire to be with the person you're falling for.
So love is basically like a form of temporary insanity. No wonder we make such questionable decisions in the name of love.
Well, it's not quite insanity, but there are some interesting parallels. This low serotonin state actually resembles what we see in individuals with obsessive compulsive disorder.
Oh, seriously. So falling in love is like having love-induced OCD.
In a way, yes, and remember all those factors that we discussed earlier, like arousal and mystery.
Right.
Those also play a role in this brain chemistry cocktail.
Right, because they trigger the release of adrenaline, which gives us that like heart racing, butterflies in the stomach feeling.
Exactly. And then there's dopamine, the reward chemical. Every time you see the person you're falling for, your brain releases a surge of dopamine, reinforcing that desire to be close to them.
So basically, our brains are rewarding us for being love struck. No wonder it feels so good. But what happens when those like intense feelings start to fade? Do we just become dopamine deficient zombies?
Not necessarily as those initial fiery feelings subside. Other chemicals come into play to foster a deeper, more enduring bond. Have you ever heard of oxytocin and vasopressin?
Vaguely they ring a bell, but refresh my memory.
Well, they're often called the bonding hormones because they're associated with feelings of trust, empathy, and long-term attachment.
Uh-huh. So while dopamine might be the star of the show in the early stages of love,
Right.
oxytocin and vasopressin step in to create like a more stable and lasting foundation.
Exactly. It's like a beautiful chemical dance with different neurotransmitters taking center stage at different points in the relationship.
This is blowing my mind. So it's not just about like finding the right person. It's also about understanding the complex interplay of brain chemicals that influence how we experience love.
Precisely. And this brings us back to, one of the most important takeaways from the article. The idea that love isn't just a passive feeling, it's an active process of growth and evolution.
Right. We talked about the self-expansion theory, the idea that we're drawn to people who help us expand our sense of self. But how does that like work in the long run?
Well, as the relationship matures, the emphasis shifts from simply sharing similarities
Mm.
to fostering mutual growth.
Mm.
It's no longer about enjoying the same hobbies or having identical opinions. It's about supporting each other's individual journeys and evolving together.
So as the initial excitement fades, those shared experiences and like personal growth become even more important for keeping the connection strong.
Exactly. Think about it. If you're constantly learning and growing alongside your partner, the relationship never gets stale. There's always something new to discover, both within yourselves and within each other.
That's a beautiful way to think about it. It takes the pressure off needing to be like perfectly compatible from the start.
Absolutely. And those bonding hormones, oxytocin and vasopressin, they play a key role in reinforcing those feelings of connection and support every time you share a meaningful experience with your partner. Those hormones are released, strengthening the bond between you.
Wow, we've covered so much ground in this deep dive. We've gone from the initial sparks of attraction to the chemical roller coaster of falling in love, and now we're talking about the deep, enduring bond that sustains a long-term relationship.
It's been quite a journey, and I think the biggest takeaway is that love, in all its complexities and contradictions, is ultimately about growth.
Growth both as individuals and as a couple. I love that. So, dear listeners, as you embark on your own romantic adventures, remember that finding the one isn't about finding someone who completes you, but rather someone who inspires you to become the best version of yourself.
And who supports you along that journey of self-discovery through all the ups and downs. Because at the end of the day, love is about so much more than just the initial spark. It's about connection, growth, and the beautiful, messy journey of two lives intertwining.
And until next time, keep diving deep